I feel like you're caught up in some type of a legal entanglement. Okay. So this can be, I do feel very strongly medical issues like getting in a car accident, um, having to undergo therapy, having to do some type of, I guess like physical therapy, emotional therapy, even so that you can get, and then waiting on the compensation, waiting on settlements, waiting on these things, waiting on this decision of another person, another entity, or another group of people. So I feel like there's that element here about, waiting in suspense for either getting a job offer, waiting for a financial windfall to come through some type of legal issue, waiting for, work compensation as well, retirement, and, everything wrapping up. So your expectations, your financial situation is very tied up in another entity right now. And you have all of these ideas, all of these plans, once they finalize everything, I want to travel, I want to see the world, I want to go out, I want to go here, I want to buy a property there. But everything is so wound up with this decision that you're not able to make a move. And I feel like whenever your freedom of movement is restricted, physically or even like emotionally or mentally, it makes you feel really, really frustrated. And when you're operating in a place where you like this, where you're frustrated, um, you're not going to be in the right frame of mind to make the right decisions. Okay. So distract yourself with other things. Take on some type of new creative venture, creative hobby, like do something to really make the time pass. Do something therapeutic as well. And I feel for you in particular, therapy, this is not something that you want to do, but I feel it might be really good for you. Journaling, doing something with your hands, a drawing, finding some type of a creative outlet so that you're not inundated by, all of my plans are on hold because I'm waiting on this executive decision. So distract yourself with other things. Do something else that adds value to your life, that adds meaning to your life while you're waiting for this to finalize. Otherwise, you're going to go stir crazy. And for whatever reason, if your physical freedom of movement is restricted, for example, if you're sick, if you're feeling under the weather, if you have, other things that's really like, I'm sensing health wise lower extremities, like, legs from the hips down, that might really restrict your movement. So if you're, on the older end of the age spectrum and you're not as agile as you used to be, so you can't really, just walk around the neighborhood or do a marathon, I still feel that, some type of sedentary hobby might actually be good for you because it's going to help you immerse yourself in it and you're going to feel that sense of distraction. Okay. And then for others, I feel like overall, there's a lot of people going out, walking about, knowing how to constructively dissipate this pent up energy. So I feel like overall, you're getting enough, exercise, physical activity, and your health is actually on the upward trajectory overall when it comes to, improving your health, improving your emotional, physical health. Okay. So I feel like this is a very, very good month overall for overcoming, healing, getting a lot of healing work done, getting a lot of support and feeling really realigned. Okay. So I'm sensing that's a great thing that you're undertaking here. So they're saying here, financial worries are going to be a thing of the past. Okay. And what I want to emphasize with this card is, because it's the first card that came out in this spread, is basically telling you enough's enough, move on. Okay. So don't dwell on things. Don't dwell on, the past. Don't dwell on what could have been, because the time for you is to take care of your practical matters. This is a card about, being diligent, being practical, being pragmatic, figuring out what do I need to take care of and what have I been avoiding in the process of, dwelling on the past, ruminating on the past, and not getting things done for myself. Financially, where have I held myself back? Where am I feeling stuck? What can I do to improve my financial situation? So I feel like this is the month where, if you've kind of been skipping around, finding like jumping from job to job, finding exciting work, that's great. And I feel, that's all nice and great, but I feel like the financial aspect of it is catching up to you. And I also feel this element about aging, like, it's almost screaming out like, we're no longer a child. We can't really bump around anymore. We can't really, rely on sleeping on the other people's couches anymore, relying on the goodwill and the assistance of other people anymore. We need to shape up and we need to straighten up, and we need to start this by creating wealth for ourselves and to, find ways to have financial stability. Because I feel like financially, a lot of you need to look at your financial situation very carefully, okay? And you need to be very cautious about, this sense of like optimism. Oh, something will come in to save me. Something will come in and, to get me out of a dire situation. Because in the past, I feel like that was the case. But now you really need to kind of like smarten up, and you need to, they're saying, grow up. And I don't mean that to sound harsh, okay, Sagittarius, but I feel like there might have been a lot of you, there was a lot of emotional spending. So that means spending your hard-earned money on things that you didn't need, things that were just of an emotional nature, things that might have appealed to you emotionally, but that were not good for you. But I'm sensing that a lot of you are reflecting on this financial stability, and you're trying to find ways like to either get a second source of revenue, thinking about stock options, investment, not yet ready to take the risk, but I feel it's going to pan out for you. So stock options, investment opportunities, I feel like that would be really good for you. Just make sure that you get somebody, like a legal representative to be able to help you, somebody who's like savvy. Don't try to do this on your own. I feel like you might need some help, some expertise from another person that might know what they're doing, that might be, involved, and they know what they're trying to achieve, okay? Going back to what I mentioned here, I feel like for many of you, it just seems to me like in your relationship, you've got somebody here, and I'm sensing, first of all, they're saying like you need to ask yourself whether or not this relationship is balanced. Okay, so we have here a water sign. So this is a Pisces, a Cancer, or a Scorpio, and we have an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, or a Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Okay, so water sign and earth sign. And I feel like between you and this person, the energy can flow both ways. There's a little bit of a codependent energy, and it's not entirely bad yet, but it can get bad if it's not mitigated, if you're not, careful. So I feel like this, it seems to me like, a lot of the times this is a unhealthy relationship pattern that people don't know about. So if you're dealing with somebody who is very emotionally irrational, right? And you choose to stay with them, even knowing that there's no way they're going to change and things like that. But I feel like some of you are staying in it because their emotional irrationality is like, in opposition to you. It makes you feel like you're the one in control. Okay. And then likewise, they're staying in a situation, your partner can be staying in a situation. If you're the one that they're like, you're so emotionally irrational, then it gives them the upper hand because they're in control. So I feel like there's some power struggle, some dynamics in the relationship. If it's not flushed out, if you're not careful, I feel that it can become very codependent. That's what I'm sensing here, because I feel like somebody is idealizing the situation, and I feel like somebody's ego is being stroked. And so both parties are getting, what they need from the relationship, the overly romanticized, aspect. And one person is getting a lot of ego stroking. But over time, how is that going to play out? Okay, so you want to be a little bit careful, really re-examining the motives for this relationship and whether or not the other person has enough to give you emotional support, emotional, satisfaction, whether or not they are there for you when you need them, like on the practical front, whether or not it's things, whether or not things are balanced, because I feel like, yes, you like them. There's a lot of, good vibes here. I feel like you like the other person, they like you, but it just seems to me like you're turning your back on this, and it is telling you, is the situation balanced, or are you looking at this through a very idealistic lens, okay? So what I'm also sensing as well is I feel like you're dealing with another person too, and I feel like this is coming through in the work environment, okay? A lot of uncertainty here coming in the work environment. So especially if you're working on a client basis, you're just like, I'm investing so much into calling this client, but what if it doesn't work out? So I feel like you've invested a lot of time into something, and you're still waiting for things to pan out. So this month is a lot about waiting. It's a lot about, having to put a lot of things on hold for yourself because you're waiting on the decision of another person. And so, find ways to distract yourself, pick up a new hobby, find other ways for you to use your time constructively. Okay. And so there is a situation here with the work environment where I feel like something recently was revealed in this work environment. Maybe an investigation, maybe somebody not following protocol, somebody doing something shady, like not following the chain of command, not doing things in a procedurally correct manner. Something recently came to light in your work environment, in your job search as well, for those of you who are looking for work. And I do feel like you're getting frustrated. Be careful if you have a partner, if you have a family, if you're whoever you're living with, don't bring this energy home, because I feel like a lot of the times I see you bickering here. I see you kind of like at cross purposes with coworkers. And I feel like it might be best for you to leave that energy at work rather than bringing it home, because I feel like it can also, be an extension and destabilize your home life, okay? You're ruled by the planet Jupiter, and I feel like, a lot of the times, if you're frustrated, things just get out of hand. So just be careful about managing your emotions and dealing with frustration in a more constructive manner, because I feel like there's some frustration here, either with coworkers, people you work with the work that you do. A lot of you might be in a position where you're doing a lot of quality control. You're doing a lot of like having to deal with disputes, having to deal with problems, like having to be the person to fix everything, the fixer-upper. And it's tiring. It's wearing you out. And I do sense that on the one hand, you like the responsibilities that come with it. You take pride in your work. But on the other hand, emotionally, it can be very destabilizing. Okay? So the last message that I have here based on this spread, health issues, emotional health in particular. I feel like physically you guys are in a really good space. And physically, I feel like a lot of Sagittarius people are built very strongly, okay? So I feel that emotional health, this is something that you need to take care of, because I feel like this card is coming out, and because it's showing up as a water sign, it just feels to me like there are things that you're still dwelling on. There are things that you're trying to get answers for. So if there has been like, symptoms and you're trying to get diagnosed, you're trying to get like a prognosis, it might indicate some type of, I feel like, lack of answers, lack of clarity regarding medical diagnoses, as well as, some emotional or spiritual like problems creating or manifesting itself in a physical way. So it's like a mysterious symptom, and you're just like, I wonder what's wrong. And so get things taken care of, get a second opinion, get a third opinion if you need to. Okay. So I feel like that's coming in. And honestly, Sagittarius, if people have walked away, if people have shown their true colors, let them be. Okay. If it's meant to come back, I feel that it will come back to you. But I feel like there's a cyclical pattern here about, family members and things like that, where they're not operating at their best and they're creating strife in your life. It's like you can't really agree to disagree even. So if that's the case, just leave it alone. And then, if it does choose to come back,